now that we have the MES database configured, we can start our first project. Log in with admin and password by default, if it hasn't been changed. We'll call it SPC training. We'll leave these settings as default. And we see a new item here that if you don't have the any of the MES modules installed, this won't appear. And it's stopped. By default, whenever you create a new project, it will be stopped, and we can enable it here, but we first need to configure some production items in there. So by right-clicking on that, we want to add a new enterprise. So that's overall your entire company. And then we want to create a production site. So that's a physical production facility. So we could have California. And if we're in an enterprise version, we could add another one down there called New York. And then within California, we probably have some different production areas like processing, packaging, we could even have receiving, shipping. So we can really break out our production facility to as many production areas as we need. And let's say in processing here, I want to add a location. Now, a location is where we collect samples from. We can alert that samples are due at a location. We can automatically collect samples at a location. We can, anytime sample data is taken and it's in a rule violation, we can alert by that. So technically you can run your entire plant on one location, but when you get an alert that there's a rule violation, you don't know where it is in the plant. So if you set up virtual locations, and in this case we add one in processing, and let's say we call that water temperature, then at that virtual location, if we get an alert saying, hey, water temperature is in a rule violation, we're out of control on that, you know exactly where to go in your plant. Another type of setup we can do is we can add a line. So maybe we have production line 1. And underneath line 1, we're going to take some samples. And it doesn't matter what type of sample data we take there. We can do multiple types of sample collections there. We'll call it line 1 SPC. So now, even though we might have multiple machines on line 1 and all that, we could have one location where we collect samples. Or maybe you have a testing station out there for multiple lines. You could also do it that way. So if we had another production line here, line 2, and we call that line 2 SPC. Now we have separate lines for line 1 and line 2. So if there's samples due, we could say, hey, samples are overdue at line 1, and we can send that out in a text or an email or a pop-up or show a message on the screen. Versus, oh, samples are due at line 2. So both the operator or the supervisor know directly where to go in the plant and where samples are overdue or where um, the SPC data has a rule violation. We can also pull out analysis and say we just want to see our weights for line 1 only. So we select line 1 SPC and we get the weights for just line 1. So that's the benefits of locations and how they work and how you configure them. Now when we have the production model configuration done, we can go up to the main production item and enable it and then save the project. And then we see a green arrow here that means that it's running, and we also get some update information here of the last time the production model executed. Once we enable the production model, then we have a wealth of information that we can access from under the hood that will be available in tags. So we click on the tags here, click OPC. I'm going to drag this out away from there so we can see a little more what is happening. So we have our tags here, and then we have our OPC browser here. This is the normal Ignition OPC UA server where you might see PLCs and devices like that. But over in the production one here, we have SPC training, which is our project. And if we have multiple projects, we will see them listed here. And I can drill down. And this follows the production model. So My Enterprise, California. And we start seeing some other information in here. But let's go to Processing, Water Temperature. Now if I take and drag that water temperature folder over to the tags, and I might want to organize those to be a little bit better in folders and such. Let's give us a little bit more room here. But under the water temperature location, that's what we set up as a location up above here. We see that we can enable and disable that item. We can have a product code that would be assigned to it, a reference number, and we'll be going into some of these, how to set a product code to a location and such. We have some tags that would say a sample's coming due, a sample's due, a sample's overdue, a sample's waiting approval, signal out of control, that's rule violation. So we have all these tags that are available in here that now we can use to alert on and do different things. So maybe when a sample is overdue, we can edit the tag and go to alerting and set up the alerting. So when a sample is overdue, a text message gets sent out, things like that. So you noticed how all these tags that are available here are available at this location. And if we take and put in SPC line 1 here, for example, let's navigate over there, packaging line 1, SPC line 1, and I drag that folder over, we have all those same tags. So we know when a sample is overdue for line 1, which is different than the sample that's overdue for the water temperature. And that's how we get alerts by location and the benefits of a location there. We can also track product through a location, which will become very important in the traceability module and the recipe module. So this gives you an overview of how to configure your locations in a production model. And you can use the same production model to configure your OEE and putting cells and cell groups in there, and refer to the OEE training videos for how to do that.